Welcome to Pathetic, the podcast. Another week has gone by. I want to thank all of you for your support, your views, your subscriptions. Keep that coming. Tell your friends at work about this. Tell your friends who don't work about it. They've got more time to watch it, so that's even better. As long as they can pay the internet bills, they can pick us up on YouTube, which is great. Guys, Mike, how are you today?
I am great. Had a great first week. Opening day was fantastic. Great first week of baseball coming through. Excited for the season to come and ready to get into it today. So Jeff, how are we doing?
If you're a Yankee fan, you got to be doing great. And I have my, I guess you call this living room studio set up today to watch the Yankee game as we're doing this podcast. It's 2-1. Warren looks really good. Yankees look really good. So everything is going great. Can't wait to get episode 6. Is that where we're at now? Episode 6?
Yeah, 5 or 6. I don't
Man.
even know time.
Yeah.
Where does
Time
the
is
time
flying.
go? Where
I
does
know.
the time go? Mikey, me and Jeff were just talking about in 54 days, we're actually going to be on a cruise to Bermuda.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
that's
right?
exciting.
That is
I'll be
exciting.
doing a solo show that day.
You will be. You'll be. You'll be like Chris Mad Dog Russo. When we come back, the name of it's going to be changed. It's going to be like
Right.
the Mikey C Show. Everything's going to be changed.
You'll have
Right.
2 different partners. Like
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
We're gonna be breaking down snooker and pool from like Czech Republic or something for the whole podcast.
Exactly.
It'll be fantastic.
Well, a lot of things going on in the world of sports. As you mentioned, baseball. We also have the Final Four is set, and we've got the 4 number 1 seeds meeting in the final weekend. And again, I said it last week. I said you're going to see a lot of this going forward because of the big schools just getting so much stronger. Mikey, what do you think about that?
So we had some pretty entertaining games. I think the Sweet 16 had a couple of games that were very entertaining. The Elite 8 games were not so much. I was hoping Michigan State was going to pull out that game, but they just ran out of steam at the end there, and I felt bad for Texas Tech. I felt like they could have won 2 of those games, and they couldn't get it done. But we have what a lot of people thought. If your 5-year-old went and filled out a bracket, they're probably winning the whole thing right now because they picked all the number 1 seeds because you told them that the number 1 seeds are what you got to do. So very boring in terms of who's going to win. It's probably the person who knows the least about college basketball who is going to win your brackets there. But we're going to have 2 good matchups. I think Florida and Auburn is a fantastic game. They've played 2 great games so far this year. I think you're going to get a great game there. And Houston and Duke is going to be a sneaky game, I think. I think you love to see Cooper Flag on the big stage in front of the whole country in that big Alamo Dome with a much different setting than even the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 games. So you're going to have a lot there. One thing I will say, though, Ted, I kind of disagree with you a little bit about they're never going to be Cinderellas again. I think that there still is a possibility you could get someone making a run at some point because all you're going to hear for the next year is that the Cinderellas have no chance. We're not going to be able to do anything. This is going to motivate these kids who maybe didn't get a shot to play at a big school and didn't get the money and got picked to go to a Manhattan or go to a Xavier or go to somewhere that doesn't have a huge NIL pool available to them and say, you know what, we're going to stick together because it's still basketball. You still have to play within the lines. Yes, the teams that have a lot of money are going to have the players that are recruited out of school, but there's still a chance that one of these teams can still do it. So I'm not dead killing the Cinderellas off yet. I still think there's an opportunity that they could be something. I want to see more because if you look at between 2007 and 2009, we had the same kind of run where we had 2008, you had all 4 number 1 seeds make it. 2007, you had a 1 or 3 1s and a 2, and I think 2009 you had a couple of 2s, a 3, and a 1. So there was a lot of chalk that happened over time. So the tournament does do that from time to time. So I want to see a little bit more on it, but I still think you could have a chance where you could get a Cinderella going forward.
I hope so. I really hope so, because
I mean, that's what we love about the tournament. You love to see those teams make a big upset. You want to really see competitive games. You want to see games that are exciting at the end. You don't want to see these games that are 20 points up. Well, unless you bet the over, because then you want to see more points. But
and you always bet the over.
Correct. But you want to see those games that come down to the end. You want to see the buzzer beaters. You want to see those dramatic moments that you think of. You think of Christian Laettner. You think of the Villanova buzzer beater to win the championship a couple of years back. That's what you think about when you think of March Madness. So I hope that that's going to continue, and I want to see that going forward. But I still think there's hope for those Cinderellas. So don't count them all out yet.
Yeah, I think the Cinderella story is, it sucks when there's no Cinderella story that you have a vested interest in, right? But it also, to a degree, just to play devil's advocate, it also paves the way to have remarkably competitive Elite Eights, Final Fours, and ultimately a very competitive championship game, right? I mean, these games, man, are coming up. They're just must-see TV. There's no other way to put it. I'm really looking forward to them. And I actually have Florida in one of my brackets winning the whole thing. And I love Florida just in general, the state. So I'll be rooting very hard for them for a few reasons. I just think Duke is an absolute juggernaut. Their size, their talent. They have a really well-balanced team, too, in terms of offensive and defensive play. And they have players that can play multiple positions, like even mid-drive. Right, you see them constantly adjusting during a crisis, like a mid-drive crisis. They obviously, Mike, you mentioned Cooper Flagg, who's obviously the player of the year. And, basketball is that sport. Either it's NBA, college, or high school where, one player can literally take over a game if he's on. So, there was no Cinderella story this year, which, again, like I always like to see one, but I also look at it positively. Like, I don't mind it. I think, if a Cinderella ran into a Duke or a Florida, the clock is striking midnight pretty quickly in that game. Right.
Hard.
So, but my predictions for the games, I think Duke beats Houston and I think Florida beats Auburn. The Florida Duke championship, I'm going to wait to see if it actually happens, and I got to think about it. But I think we're going to see a great showdown between Duke and Florida.
What's amazing about Duke is that I go on that website Tankathon a lot, because although I'm not a huge NBA fan, I mean, let's be honest, if the Nets were with a top 3 pick this year, that would be exciting, because they can either get a Cooper Flagg, an Ace Bailey, or a Harper, to 2 kids from Rutgers. But when I look at it, their prediction is in the top 9, there could be as many as 4 Duke starters drafted in the top 9. So it shows you the talent level of Duke, and I mean, Florida, Houston, and Auburn are no slouches at all, but that talent level of Duke is just, it's incredible. It really is incredible. And
so let me ask you guys this. Would you rather see a Cinderella story in the Final Four that you probably know is going to get beat, or would you rather see these 4 game number 1 seeds where it's going to be a competitive game? A Cinderella story that you don't have a vested interest in.
I really want to just see competitive games. So if the Cinderella team can put it together and give them a run where it's in the second half and the game's within 7 or 8 points, and there's a chance where they hit a couple of threes to get it down to maybe 5, and you start getting really excited, that's what I really love to see. But I think these 2 games you're going to get on Saturday are going to be electric, because you have 2 very young coaches in Florida's coach and Duke's coach against 2 guys who are as seasoned as it gets, who have never quite gotten over the hump in Bruce Pearl and the Houston coach there. So you're going to get a lot of fun things going on. I like the over in both of these games. Shocker, I know.
Shock.
But and I actually do have an interest. You have the lines out as well for the championship game, for whichever championship game it is. So if it is Duke versus Florida, as you said, Jeff, It is Duke minus 4.5 as of right now.
It's a lot of points.
I mean,
That's a lot of points.
the lines for the games right now is Florida is actually favored by 2.5 against Auburn, which I think is kind of interesting because Auburn was the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. They've played really well in their games. I mean, Florida hasn't really had a competitive game other than that Texas Tech game the whole tournament, but Auburn's really kind of rolled over everyone who they played. So it's kind of surprising that Florida is favored in that game. And then in the other game, it's Duke minus 5.5 against Houston. So obviously they're giving Duke the benefit of the doubt there. But curious to hear your guys' thoughts on those. And the overs are 159.5 for the Florida Auburn game and only 136.5 for the Houston Duke game. So I think there's going to be a little bit. Houston plays very good defense. So Duke's going to have to be very hot in order to try to hit that over. But I certainly think you could do that as well.
What do you think, Jeff?
For the 2 games, the Final Four?
Yeah, like if it's like a Duke-Florida championship, what are you thinking?
Oh, if it's Duke-Florida. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be rooting for Florida, but I have to go with Duke. I have to. It's like when I went with the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I didn't want to,
Right.
but I try to put my emotions aside. It's just with Cooper Flagg, if he has one of these days, man, where he just goes off, even though Florida has a good defense, they're a great team, obviously. I just think they're going to have a lot of trouble stopping him. So even though I picked Florida, I'm going to have to say Duke's going to win. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, like I said, those other 3 teams are very talented, and if they beat Duke, it wouldn't shock me. It would surprise me. But I honestly, at this point, I can't see Duke losing. I just can't. I mean, and I'm not a huge Duke fan, but
No.
I just can't see them. I can't see them losing at this point. So, but I would, when you asked about the Cinderella team that I have no vested interest in, I think maybe you're right. When you get to the Final Four, I remember many years ago the Christian Laettner game. Was that against Kansas, I think, or Kentucky?
I think it was Kentucky.
Kentucky. And I mean, that was just an unbelievable game where you got these 2 heavyweights just slugging it out. And when you had those games with Houston with the Phi Slamma Jamma, and I mean, yeah, you're right. Unless you have a vested interest in the Cinderella, you want to see those best teams slug it out at the end and give you an unbelievable final game. So yeah, you're right. You're right. I acquiesce to that. You're right.
But again, you had a run with St. Peter's, so I think if I had a school that I was rooting for that was really never in it and they were complete underdogs, I'd feel the same way. It'd be hard to get over, like the NIL money, like you were talking about last week, Uncle Ted. I mean, that's going to ruin it. I mean, it's ruined a lot of it in college.
I think what ruins more is the transfer portal.
Yeah,
I fully support the right of players in football and basketball to move to different schools within reason. I mean, to have, the day after St. Peter's is eliminated in the Elite 8 and 7 of the players enter the transfer portal. And the amazing thing was only 1 player went to a team that was better than St. Peter's. I mean, Doug Eddard, probably the best shooter on the team, goes to Bryant College. I wouldn't stop in there for lunch. Are you kidding me? Bryant College in Rhode Island. What brought you there? I mean, and if it's a girlfriend, say it's a girlfriend or something. But, and it shows you how crazy I get when I think of this, because there was an article in the NJ.com where I guess he's now the head coach or assistant head coach of Bergen Catholic High School. Let's give him a big hand. Yeah, how about this? How about I just shit on your head? I'll give you a big hand. So, I mean, it aggravates me. And Mikey knows there are certain things in sports that I carry amazing grudges on.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing grudges. And this is one of them. That, okay, you want to leave and go to Seton Hall, great. Oh, you want to leave and go to Alabama. Okay, I get it.
Right, Villanova.
Hi.
Right.
Hi, I'm going to go to New Jersey Institute of Technology. Get the hell out of here. That reminds me of when I was in college, and this will date me. Back then, you had they used to call it Ticketron offices in our building. So when concert tickets would go on sale or sporting tickets would go on sale, the line out the door was tremendous. Well, there's this one day the rumor came that Springsteen was doing 5 nights at the Garden. Nothing confirmed. We had the rumor. We got on a line. We were online. There had to be 150 people online in the hallway at St. Peter's College, and we're just waiting. And Father Heavey keeps coming by saying, there's no tickets. Nothing's happening. Get off the line. Nobody's getting off the line. And there's this one guy on the line. Nobody knows. I mean, it's a small college. Nobody knows this guy. And he's just standing there by himself. Well, the doors open. They put up a oak tag sign that says Springsteen at the Garden. And they put the dates. And we rush the desk. And everybody's going, April 18th, 4 tickets. April 16th, 8 tickets. This guy goes like this. Excuse me, do you have 4 for new riders of the Purple Sage at Nassau Coliseum? This guy next to me who was on the football team at the time just says, are you kidding me? And he grabs him and he throws him off the line. but that's what it's like. I mean, you're the outliers. I'm aggravated. I don't even know if I can continue.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Let's move on to baseball. Let's move on to baseball before we get too pissed.
What were you going to say, Mike?
I would say one last thing to keep in mind for these games to look out for. I think you might, scary for me to say this, but you might look at the under in the first half of these games because you're now playing in a big football stadium versus the little basketball fields. And a lot of times, especially for guys who haven't played in those arenas before, that first half, you might not be able to hit as many shots as you'd think. So that might be a sneaky first half under, and then the second half is just going to be a roaring thing of points once they get it figured in and dialed in from there.
If I was the head coach, I would get out. I would walk them onto the court, and I would get a tape measure out, and I would say, how high is it? 10 feet, coach, just like our gym at Hickory.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Which, by the way, that's one of the greatest sports movies of all time.
Absolutely. I think we need to do a
Jeff, you've got a list of that. Jeff, you have a face on you like you've never seen that movie.
No. I never saw it. I will say that. I will admit it. But it just hit me. We got to do for our top 5s. Maybe we'll do it next week. Our top 5 best sport movies of all time.
How are you going to participate if you've never seen the best one?
Because I guarantee I've seen ones that you haven't seen. We'll put a challenge to that. I guarantee I've seen some. I'll even make a separate list of movies I don't think you've seen, and then we'll see if I'm right.
Well, try to see it this week then.
Okay.
Hoosiers with Gene Hackman.
Will do.
Okay. It's not in black and white, so you'll be fine. Aren't you the guy that told me I don't watch movies in black and white?
Well, why would I watch movies in black and white? Someone explain that to me. I would. Like, back in the day, I guess, if there's good movies, but I wouldn't go out of my way. I'd rather see it in color, if that's what you're asking.
You're learning a lot about us tonight, people. Yeah. You're learning a lot.
Yep.
Yes.
So we had baseball open up. To me, I know it's baseball season when I get the text from Mikey C showing what he's eating at Yankee Stadium. And we got that this week. Mike, why don't you tell everybody what you partook in?
Okay, so we walk into the stadium. First thing when you get in, it's a new item this year. It's called the Bird Dog. It is a foot-long hot dog with 2 chicken fingers on it, so one on each side of the foot-long hot dog, with garlic aioli, pickles, and cheese sauce on top of all of that together, with a side of fries, of course, because you have to.
And how many did you get?
So I had one of those.
Okay.
And a tall Miller Lite, because of course. So you have to get the cold tall boy that you pull out of the freezing cold thing of ice in the middle of the concourse there. But then in the middle of the 5th inning, still a little hungry, had to go and get my staple at every single baseball game I've ever been to in my life, hot sausage and peppers. Got that in there and then washed it down at the end with another new addition to Yankee Stadium, Mr. Softy in the ice cream helmet. There's nothing better in my life than anything you put in a helmet. You could put ice cream, nachos, chicken fingers, throw in a helmet of any kind, hockey helmet, football, baseball. Give me a helmet full of food at a stadium. I'm in. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on that.
I'm hungry. I think I have to end the show early and order a hot dog and chicken fingers. But Mike, when you sent that to me, I was like, what the hell is this? I'm trying to like zoom into the phone to see, is that chicken? Is that a hot dog? Oh man. But
All
it looked
the above.
it's all the above. And let me just say this, Mike, I didn't even think of this until you said it. You're right. Anything in a helmet, I don't know why. Is it the plastic in the helmet? Is it a mental thing, which it probably is?
Right.
It just tastes better, particularly ice cream. Right? What's that? The dot ice cream. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
Dippin' Dots. The
Dippin' Dots
ice cream of the future.
Dippin' Dots in a helmet. I mean, I'd have that 3 times a day if I had access to it.
I have a whole small array of small plates, almost like a full place setting of large helmets, smaller helmets. So any snacks that I have in my house are either in a larger Yankee helmet or a smaller Yankee. I have a couple of Phillies ones. I have a San Diego Padres one from when I was out in San Diego, and I have a couple of Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs helmets that I have that are rotating through for any kind of snacks you want in my house. You're going to get them in a helmet.
Love it.
Now I got to share this. People, Mike loves stadium food, arena food, ballpark food, and I do too. I love it. We went to a Devils game a few years ago, and my son-in-law got us tickets in the lounge downstairs, not the Fire and Ice lounge where you're with the normal peons. This was where like players who were not dressed, that's where they eat. They had carving stations, hot dogs, hamburgers, sushi, full dinners, candy, ice cream, everything. And there were 4 of us. 3 of us made a bet, unbeknownst to Mike. How many hot dogs will he eat? And we gave an over-under. I think the over-under was 6. And Mikey did not disappoint.
Nope.
And did 7.
That was in
There
front
you
of
go.
that was in front of Boomer Esiason and Greg Giannotti as well, because they were calling the game
Yes.
that night. And that was actually the last thing I think we all did before COVID shut down. I think it was like
Yes.
early March of 2020 we went to that game. And that was
and COVID shut everything down.
Yep, right after, like 2 weeks after that.
And there's only one thing that I would love to be able to enjoy at a ballpark, and I never get it, and that's a funnel cake. And I go to the Jersey Blue Claws games here, the minor league team, and people are walking around with funnel cakes with different toppings, with sugar and everything. And my daughter, Shannon, says all the time, why don't you get it if you want it? I said, because the last thing I need is for me to be walking around holding that and having somebody look over and go, yeah, like that fat bastard needs a funnel cake.
Well, it's also one of the messiest foods you can possibly eat.
Absolutely.
Yes.
With the
You have powder
sugar
on every part of your body. Every fabric of clothing has powder for the next month. It just you'll look at your clothes a month later and say, "Oh yeah, that was from a month ago when I had it." But yeah, listen, food and sports, it just goes together. I mean, even at home, like I cannot watch a game without eating something, even if it's just peanuts. Like there's especially football. Like football, I'm telling you guys, I have a whole system where I time out exactly when I'm going to order the pizza.
I love it.
When the game is going on. Now, here's another thing. I have to make sure the pizza that I order for football Sunday is in my place at least 15 minutes before the game starts, so I can then put it in the oven to spice it up a little bit and then settle in. So food has turned me into a crazy person when it comes to food, because I'm on like a clock when I have to get the food in my plate in time for the game.
It's it definitely. I mean, listen, food in football, food in baseball. It's like it's there's nothing
goes hand
better.
in hand.
It really does. Now, baseball season to me has been weird. Like I'm a Met fan. Okay, I know you 2 guys are Yankee fans, and I'm happy so far. Our pitching's been looking okay. You know, we're slow to hitting right now, but I really think the reason we're slow to hitting is because maybe we've decided that we're not going to cheat and do steroid and have steroid
Here
bats.
we go.
And but maybe I would like to see my team get the torpedo bats, and and maybe use them too and make everything nice, because if Judge is going to hit 96 home runs this year, there has to be an asterisk next to
he's
it.
not using the
Well,
bat.
he's not using the bat. It's only Volpe.
Are you
No,
sure?
you can see it. It's Volpe, Jazz, and I think that's it, right? Or maybe there might be one more person.
I think maybe Ben Rice is using it, maybe, or one of those guys. But
Yeah.
not the whole team, but I think a couple of the guys are using it.
Well, listen, before I even get to the torpedo, the Torpedo Gate, Yankee Gate, whatever you crazy people want to call it, we can't deny the Yankees looked awesome. Right?
Absolutely.
Not
Absolutely.
nine home runs in a game. That's the most home runs the Yankees have had in a game in their history. And, even the Yankee haters would admit, when you break Yankee records, you're breaking baseball records, right? That's a big deal.
Our guys are out there hitting the ball. Like, we're really working hard at that.
Yep, I'm sure that's exactly what he said in that exact tone. And, I also thought Rodon looked awesome.
He did.
And Uncle Ted, I always liked Rodon. He'll give you some real disasters, but somehow the guy ends up having a great year almost every year, because when he's on, he's lights out. Didn't think Fried looked great, but I certainly won't overreact. He got his bad game out of the way for the month the same day the Yankees lit the scoreboard on fire.
Yeah.
Goldschmidt, Bellinger looks like they're fitting in. I don't want to overreact, but the Yankees look like a complete team.
They look great.
But now, on to the important stuff, right? Because the Torpedo Gate is really important to baseball. I mean, this is laughable, guys. All right. I heard some people, not just you, Uncle Teddy, I know you're trolling a little bit, say that the Yankees are cheating, right? Well, the bats got approved by the MLB before they even took the field. So maybe you can do it, Uncle Ted. Dumb it down for me on exactly how that's cheating, right? And I think it's just people pissed off. The Yankees are off to a great start, to be honest, and that's fine. The Yankees, Mike, you can agree with this, have always thrived and done better when people are hating on them. So I'd say, keep it coming. I mean, it couldn't possibly be that Nestor Cortez was throwing 89-mile-per-hour meatballs all day, could it? Right? The Brewers' pitching stinks.
Oh, it's terrible.
They got shellacked last night, right? 11-1, and it wasn't the custom bats. And guys, let's not forget, the Yankees only scored 4 runs in Thursday night's game, right? Where was the outrage over the torpedo bats after that game? And not to mention, this is the best part too. Teams have tried the torpedo bats last year. The Red Sox tried it during spring training. Where was this influx of home runs? Right? I think people just have to come to terms with the fact that, I hate to say it, guys, Dave Portnoy, the Yankee bats were on fire, right? And the Brewers suck. So torpedo bat or not, you still have to hit the ball. And I usually don't get upset over this, over like the trash talk and the accusations in sports. It's part of the game. You have fun with it. But the amount of just bitching and moaning we heard from people coming out of the Yankees hating clown car, like, enough. The Yanks are good, right? Sorry, guys. I just had to get that off my chest because that really pissed me off this weekend.
I'm with you 100%. If this is the Tampa Bay Rays using these torpedo bats, you would hear absolute crickets coming from everyone else out there. It's because of that NY and the pinstripes that are all of a sudden hitting the ball out of the ballpark at ridiculous levels that everyone's getting upset. But I want to calm everybody down when it comes to baseball, because we're thinking of this like an NFL game where every game is super important and every game is whatever. We have 162 games. We're going to be talking about regular season baseball through the summer into the fall.
Yep.
So I want to put this into terms like an NFL, because you guys are both big week 1 NFL guys. I want to take this first week or so of games. I want to put this as the first quarter of the first game of the NFL season. So if your team isn't doing so great, maybe they're down 9-6 after the first quarter. Maybe they threw a pick 6 at some point and they're down a little bit. Does that mean they're going to lose the game? Does that mean they're going to have a terrible season because their first quarter of the first game is so bad? Yes, the fans are going to boo the first 3 and out that they're going to do, especially if you're got a lot of expectations going into the season. But this is a marathon, and we're in mile point two of a full marathon. So I'm not going to get super excited about hitting a bunch of home runs. It's great. It's a great start to the season, but this is a long way to go. We have to see these pitchers do what they need to do. We need to see the bullpen do what they need to do. Now, granted, the closer he's now on the paternity list, Yankees closer, because he just had a kid. So maybe that will get his head out of his butt after the opening night
That was close.
disaster. That was very close to being I was just sitting there saying, this is not Milwaukee, pal. This is the real deal. If you're going to close baseball games in that stadium, you better bring it every single time, because that will eat you alive if you're not ready. So I'm not going to get too excited or crazy about three or four games in the season. My first check-in for how the team's doing is Memorial Day. So when we get to Memorial Day, I will see where the records are. Obviously, we want to make sure everyone stays healthy. If we can get everybody back, it looks like Stanton's starting to swing a bat now. He said he's bringing the torpedo bat with him when he does come back as well. So I'm excited. Ted, I'm curious to see about your thoughts on the Mets getting started here as well.
I'm extremely happy. Our pitching has been pretty decent, especially our relief pitching, which is what really gets me excited. Everybody's scrutinizing every single at bat that Soto has. It's insane. He's going to be here for 15 years. Chill out.
Yep.
Right.
To me, the guys who I'm watching their at bats a little more closely are Alonso and like a Starling Marte at this point. Because all the other guys, they're going to hit. Even Vientos makes me nervous, but I think he's going to hit.
Yeah, he'll definitely hit.
And as we're speaking, the Mets are mounting a rally in the top of the ninth, first and second, one out, trailing by 2.
Vintage Mets.
Yeah, exactly, right? But I'm not worried. We were 0-5 to start the season last year. Atlanta's 0-5 right now. You think they're panicking in Atlanta? I don't think they are. I don't think they should be.
No.
Except it was great that David Stearns did not sign Jurickson Profar.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted him to, and now he's 80 games he's suspended.
Did a little juicy juice, right?
So and that's the other thing, Met fans, let's give David Stearns a little bit of credit. He put together a really good team last year. I think he's doing a really good job with the team. I'm not concerned. I'm in it for the long haul. I think it's going to be fine. I'm not. And as far as the torpedo bats, listen, I kind of agree with you, Jeff. I don't really think the bats are going to be that much of a difference. I honestly don't, because if they are, everybody will use them.
Right.
And so far, I think 10 major league teams have ordered bats, but not everybody on the team. So I don't think it's that big a deal. The Yankees are great hitters, and you're right. Milwaukee stinks.
Awful.
They stink.
Really bad.
Because even tonight, I think the Yankee game is like 2-2 with Arizona, 6th or 7th inning. So it's showing you if they had the torpedo bats, they'd have 10 runs up already.
That's right.
People get crazy. But the thing that really bothers me is, and I look at it now, I just scroll right past it, is the moronic Yankee fans, who are putting up after every Soto at bat. Are you happy you went to the little brother in New York? Listen, how about this? Shut up. Really, just shut up.
Yeah,
you're a moron.
Yep. A moron's better than a jack tool that you called us last week. So we'll take morons.
Well, yeah. Well, another week of this, you might all be jack tools, but
you might. Listen, I could definitely be a jack tool with my teams. I'm not going to deny that. Right. Actually, Uncle Teddy, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So with the Mets,
oh boy,
who do you? No. This is not a bad thing. Who do you trust more? Just not even in a big spot, just in general at the plate. Vientos or Alonso?
Wow, that's a tough one. Alonso.
Really?
And the reason being is because he's had a lot of opportunities to be big, and he seems to always come up big when you need him. He could be 0 for his last 13.
Right.
And if it's a big spot, there's a really good chance that he's going to come through. I love Vientos. Love him.
Yeah.
but I don't trust him that much yet.
Yeah,
Not
it's just
yet.
what scares me about Alonso. And the reason why I bring that up and ask you is because I think the 3 spot on the Mets right now is the most important role in baseball.
Yep.
I really do,
Yep.
because you have to protect Soto, and when this guy gets good pitches to hit, Mike, you and I saw it in
Yep.
real time for how many games he played, 160 games. He's going to hit the ball, whether it's even if it's
Yeah.
a line drive out, like he's going to make contact. And listen, I actually like Pete. Um, I I like him in a big spot. I actually kind of trust him, but I just don't know if he's an overall good enough hitter as a whole to be batting behind Soto, particularly when you're facing good pitching, right? So, for example, like if you look at his numbers in 2021, he batted 262. 2022, he batted 271, and it's really dropped off considerably
It
since
has.
then. Like, he followed up the next year with 217. Really, since then, it's been hovering around 230. Like, his overall hitting hasn't been great. Like, when I'm watching a Mets game, I actually trust Vientos at the plate, at least to get an extra base hit, more than I do Alonso. Like, Alonso will hit a home run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that'll happen, of course. But it's just he's too susceptible to either a pop out or a strikeout. So again, I wouldn't make any moves now, adjusting the lineup. Like like you said, Mike, it's way too early to make any kind of rash decisions. But I wouldn't be surprised, because I'm very high on Vientos.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has a really, really good first quarter of the year, and you might see him bat third and maybe Pete fourth. I think Pete is more suited for fourth, in my opinion.
See, I agree with that. I'll give you one thing, and it's a little bit of a wild card in this. I think when Ronnie Mauricio was healthy and comes back, he was one of our top prospects, and he hits for average. He hits for power. He reminds me a lot of Vientos, as far as maybe not as much power, but that he's a gap hitter and all. I could see at the end of this year Alonso not there anymore, and I can see Vientos at first and Mauricio at third, or vice versa. And that wouldn't shock. And then you would see maybe Mauricio 3, Vientos 4, Nimmo 5.
Mm-hmm.
So,
No.
I mean, that could be. I don't know. I'm not as big on getting Vlad as a lot of people are. I don't, and I know it's not my money, I don't want to have now the first baseman who's making $550 million contract, and then have the $750 million guy playing the outfield. I don't think that's necessary.
Agreed.
Vlad
Vlad has, and I have no evidence to back this up. It's just my honest opinion. Optically, he seems like a guy that's going to get paid and completely crap the bed and just not be the guy. I don't know why. I can't sit here and say, hey, here's statistically why I think that. Just his aura, there's something about him, like he has getting paid then turn into a bust written all over him.
That could be. I hope not. I wouldn't want to just characterize him as that. But I kind of have thought many times that same thing. I really have.
He's never played in a money situation. He's never really come through when there's playoffs or anything else along the line. So you never know how that's going to turn out for him either.
Well, they've already said people who are friends with him said he's told them he would love to play with the Red Sox. So let him go to Boston. Let him go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, let him
go
go
there. With Bregman and what's his name, striking out 15 times.
Devers.
Yeah.
I have more hits in Devers this year than he does.
Never.
I'm going to tell you something. I would love for the Mets to trade for Devers, because
right now
he needs to get out of there.
He needs to get out of there. He is pissed off, and I would love to see him at third.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can move Vientos to the DH spot, and then spell Alonso once in a while. And I think, because I don't think Rafael Devers is anything like what he's showing right now.
No, he's not.
But he also looks a little fat. He's gained some weight. He's probably had some of those funnel cakes up there.
He does look a little chunky.
He's doing the Harden. He's doing the exact same thing that James Harden did. He's just getting fat when he's not happy where he is and just wants to get out of there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a guy. Keep your eye on that.
Yeah,
Keep
that's not
your
crazy.
eye.
I mean, you get him, you buy low, right? If he's, But it's
Right.
funny because Mike, just to bring back up what you said, like it's so early, even for
Yeah.
Devers. Like Devers can go the next couple of weeks and have 6 home runs.
Yes.
What is he? 0 for
0 for
what is he?
19.
0 for 19 with 15
Listen,
strikeouts, which is crazy.
That's wow. Is it really 15 strikeouts?
15 strikeouts and
Man, I
19
was
at bats.
I was about to have his back, but anybody else want to jump in? Because I can't back that up, man. Wow, jeez. Oh my God, really? He has 15 strikeouts?
15 strikeouts.
My God.
Tony Gwynn had 15 strikeouts and 600 at bats in 1995.
Jeez.
And he's got it in 18 at bats in
Oh my
2025.
God.
So
Yeah, jeez. But yeah, I mean, I guess you can react to that a little bit because, like, 0 for 19, that can happen to anybody. That can happen to
Correct.
Aaron Judge.
It happened to him last year. He was not great in April, and he still ended up hitting 60 home runs.
Yeah,
So.
right. Yeah, he could have had like 70 if he actually had a good, decent April.
Yeah.
But
guys, before we go to I want to visit with Jeff on this, Mike, his UFC picks. I want to talk about them from last week. Before we do that, though, I want to let you guys know something really quick. Did you hear that the NHL is going back to home teams wearing white?
Love it.
Yes.
And I gotta tell you, I love the white Devils jersey. Because to me, that Devils logo, it's so iconic. But the jersey, the white jersey, and it hurts my heart to say this, there's no better hockey jersey white than the New York Rangers white jersey.
It is awesome.
When you go back and you look at old pictures, I was going to say winning the cup, but that would be silly because that was 1940. But winning the cup, playing in the playoffs with Vic Hadfield, the guy who I absolutely hate, Jean Rattel, Rod Gilbert, Gilles Villemure, Eddie Jockman, in those white jerseys at the Garden, you're not getting better. You're not getting better.
94.
It's awesome.
I mean, I have a couple of white jerseys that I have. Now, granted, the players are no longer with the Rangers because my jersey, I am the jersey mush. You want to talk about my picks being mushes? My jersey picks are even worse than my actual picks. So if you ever see me with a player's jersey on, that player better run away because it is not good for that person.
It's like lock him in the bathroom.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we had Jeff and Mike made their picks last week. Jeff's UFC picks. And if you remember, he had a 5-legged parlay. Okay. And I was trying to follow it and I got confused. Jeff, tell us what happened with the 5-leg parlay.
Yeah, so it's pretty confusing. So there was a bit of a snag in my parlay. So what happened was, well, let's start with the fact that one of the fights got canceled on the 5-legged parlay. So I didn't know this, but what happens is when a fight gets canceled before, which doesn't happen in other sports. So I was like, well, what happens to my parlay now, right? So it just turns into a 4-legged parlay. So the odds went down a little bit. And then the second thing that happened, one of the fights that I put in my 4-legged parlay for last week, the odds website that I went to actually screwed it up a little bit. A lot, I should say. That fight is actually scheduled for this week. So we have a kind of a cool situation here. We have the final leg of my parlay this Saturday. So I went 3 for 3, technically, right? It's actually 3 for 4, but with the last week pick, we have 3 for 3. So if you follow my parlay, you're good so far. So you have a choice. You can either trust your boy and keep the parlay open and keep Murphy and Emmett on that, and you'll win a little more money. Or if you don't trust me, you can cash out and win. I'm not sure what it is, but you guys can look it up if you have the bet. So Lerone Murphy and Josh Emmett is the final leg of the parlay, the 4-legged parlay now, and that fight is scheduled for this Saturday, the main event. So kind of a weird situation that happened, but it turned out to be kind of cool. If you want to stick with the parlay, now you can wait till the main event this Saturday.
I think that's awesome. If you've got the other legs of the parlay, and now you're just hanging around waiting for one to come in.
Yeah.
And
it's a fight. It'll be a 10-minute fight, right? So you'll know very quickly.
I was sitting with a guy on Saturday at a kid's birthday party, and he's a degenerate. He's like Mike over here. He's a true degenerate. And he had Tampa Bay Lightning over the Islanders by 1.5 goals, and he was sweating it out until they scored an empty net goal. He had Kucherov scoring a goal. Kucherov scored a goal. So they come through, and he says to me, now I need McKinnon to score a goal for Colorado, and I need Colorado to win. McKinnon scores the first goal, and he's like jumping all over the place, and then Colorado lost 2-1. So, but yeah, that's cool. Sitting around watching that last leg of the parlay, just waiting by the cash window. And Jeff, this week, though, what are you doing this week?
This week, I'm going to be a little lazy, guys. The card, how do I say this nicely? It stinks. It's a horrible card. I hate saying card stinks.
It stinks.
They stink. These fighters can whoop my ass. We know that. I don't like saying it's like a bad. I mean, listen, you never know. Some of these cards that you don't think will be good. I just honestly don't know the guys enough. It's a lot of, I wouldn't say no names because they're UFC fighters, but they're just guys that aren't really popular. So I wouldn't feel comfortable putting out any kind of a bet or parlay just because I don't know them enough. So we will do Jeff's lazy picks today, which is a big 0.
All
we'll
right.
pass and we'll get it next week.
Listen, I like that. He put his hand up. He took responsibility. It's beautiful. Now, speaking of putting the hands up and taking responsibility, Mikey, how did your picks turn out last week?
So
I honestly don't know. I completely forgot about checking them.
So I was locked in on UFL week 1. I watched 3 of the 4 games actually that went on.
God bless you.
Gotta tell you, some of that football was very difficult to watch. It was. I mean, when I get to my second game, that game was atrocious. But my first pick was the St. Louis Battlehawks. They absolutely curb stomped the Houston Roughnecks 31-6. So they did cover the spread. They won outright. St. Louis looks very, very good so far. And this game wasn't even home, so they're going to have even better home field advantage when they get to the Dome next week. I believe they're home. But they did beat Houston in the game on the 28th. Now, when we get to Sunday's game, the Birmingham Stallions, who were the 2-time defending UFL champions, I got to tell you, their quarterback is really bad. He threw for a whopping total of 89 yards on, where is I'm looking at the box score here. It was, there it is. He was 10 for 23 for 89 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And
wow.
He got to tell you, he took about 4 sacks that looked like Zach Wilson, where he just dropped back and turned around and ran around and took a 19-yard sack, I think 3 times to get them out of field goal range. So Birmingham lost 18-11. So 1-1, not the best, but if you liked St. Louis, you did okay. But Birmingham, that was just oof. That was a rough afternoon of watching. I wanted to just go outside and just walk around for a little bit after that game because even me had considering myself saying, "What am I doing watching this?"
What's his name, Mike?
Flop. It is Alex Magoo. He looked like Mr. Magoo. Yeah.
Oh, Magoo.
Yeah, he looked like he needed those glasses. I mean, that's how bad he was in this game. Now, the other guy was not much better. He was 17 for 30.
Magoo.
Yeah. The other guy on Jordan Ta'amu on DC was 17 for 37 for 211 yards and a touchdown and interception. So not great either way when it comes to the, I mean, 18-11 in a football game is just awful.
Listen, if your last name is Magoo,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I don't want you on my team. I don't care. I don't care if you have a 110 rating. I can't play with the Magoo.
Hey,
so
Skip Holtz
that's a problem.
Skip Holtz is their coach, and he looked like he was ready to kill them on the sideline. I think 2 or 3 times was just like, you can't take these sacks. And he's like, yes, sir. And he just kept taking them. Like every drive, it was awful. It was real bad.
That really is terrible. Well, listen, I'm going to give you a lot of credit for actually watching the games in full in their entirety because I tried, and I love football, I tried. I lasted about 8 minutes, and I was like, I can't do this to myself. I do enough bad things to myself. I can't do this. You know.
Well, we're so used to high level pro football, even college football.
I
Like when
mean,
we have that downgrade, it's just like it's terrible. You know, it's like
Which-
watching high school.
Which that's pretty funny. You said we're used to high level pro football. You root for the Giants. I root for the Jets. Then
Right,
where's the high
exactly.
level?
Well, listen, I'm fairly confident that the Jets defense can sack Magoo a lot of times.
Right.
I guarantee you. Okay, so-
correct.
I agree.
I think he got sacked
So it's-
eight times in that game. 8
Oh.
times.
Jeez, 8.
God, Luis.
No injuries, huh?
No, he played the whole game.
That's almost embarrassing to the defense. You sack the guy 8 times, he's still walking.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Now,
Jeez.
Mikey, I know you have picks for this week.
Yeah,
I know
do.
you do. Well, you know what? This is the time. Now, these picks are sponsored by JJ Comedy, the comedy shop. Listen, I want you to make sure that, especially if you're in the Carolina area, you can go to Broadway on the beach. You can go into, they have a brewery. You go to the website, jjcomedy.com. Shelly Belly, Michelle Ryder is on a few of those shows. Caravas. They've got great shows coming up. And the other thing is, if you're trying to raise money for kids sporting leagues or teams, or just any kind of an organization at all, fundraisers for charities, give JJ Comedy a call. Go to jjcomedy.com. Give James a call. He'll put together a great show for you. It'll be a fun way to make money. Again, I say this all the time. You don't want to be standing out in the rain in front of ShopRite or Publix or Food Lion or Giant, shaking a can, begging for money. Okay? Run one of these. You'll have a lot of fun and you'll make a lot of money. jjcomedy.com. I'm putting up the schedule of shows that are coming up right now. Mike, take it away.
All right. So we're going to go to Major League Baseball. We're going to do the Cincinnati Reds tomorrow -1.5, and we're going to do the Yankees -1.5.
Okay. Parlay.
Correct.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. That's
No.
April Fool's, guys. You think I'm going to pick 2 Major League Baseball games as my degenerate mush pick of the week? Absolutely not.
I was going to
No
say it's
way.
not on my list.
That's a
What is he
regular
doing?
No way. It's April Fool's Day. Of course, guys. I'm not picking 2 Major League Baseball teams. We're
Sorry.
going all the way down under again. We are going to the Australian Rugby League.
Nice.
We have a 2 for the people, so it is going to be a parlay. We're going to take the Penrith Panthers -14.5 against the North Queensland Cowboys. Can't pick against the Cowboys. Jeff, I'm sure you could agree with me as a Giant fan. You can never pick the Cowboys in one of these games. So
I will never pick the Cowboys.
Right.
Even
Now,
if the name is the Cowboys.
What's the line on that, Mike?
it was 12.5 when I made the pick. So the graphic will say 12.5. It has moved to now 14.5. I still love the Panthers in that game at 14.5.
That's because the word got out that you were picking them.
Right.
So it went up.
And then the second game, and now both of these games are Friday morning. So if you're up early on Friday, so 3 a.m. is the Panthers against the Cowboys. And then the other game is at 5 a.m. So most people will get up at that point. So it'll be the Sydney Roosters +1.5 against the South Sydney Rabbitohs, whatever the heck a Rabbitoh is. I'm taking the Roosters. I'm doing like I would if I was a girl who has no idea how to pick the games in the March Madness pool. I'm just going by mascots here. So I did actually take a look at one other game that was interesting, that there's another team in that league that I might want to put a future on as to win the whole thing. They are the Manly Sea Eagles. I'm going to pick them to win the whole thing. Manly Sea Eagles all day long.
Has the league started yet? Is it in?
No, this is week 1. This is week 1 of the season. Yep.
Oh, so you're in on the ground floor. That's awesome. All right, so you've got the Manly Sea Eagles to win it all. You've got the
they're plus
Sydney.
12. They're plus 1,200 to win it all. So I kind of
so you're going to get a nice.
Yeah.
You've got the Sydney team.
The Sydney
Roosters.
Yep.
And then you've also got the
Penrith Panthers.
Penrith Panthers, and that's up to 14.5 right now, right?
Correct.
Minus 14.5.
Yep.
So you're giving a lot over the North Queensland Cowboys. Okay, guys.
Nice.
Wow, that's all I can say is wow. Mike never disappoints, Jeff.
Nope.
Never.
He never disappoints. Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun this week. I think we covered a lot of topics that we are very people got a good view of what really makes us angry this week.
Yeah,
And
you'll see that more as we get more comfortable with you guys.
I think
you get more.
We're all optimistic about our teams going into the off seasons, but as soon as we actually get games going on, you're going to see us positivity turn right around into the pathetic part of the podcast here.
Yes, and speaking of games too, Mike, Will Warren, who I'm very worried about, had a good game. 5 innings today, 2 earned runs, and the Yanks are up 4-2 right now. So I thought it was important for that guy to get off to a good start. So
when we get the Ted Smallwood text rants on Football Sundays, that's going to take us to another level.
Oh,
and
boy.
I cannot wait.
Yep.
I cannot wait. Thank you, everybody. Listen, remember, check us out on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Go to patheticthepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what you would like to pick this week. What are your bets? Let's see how your bets stack up against Mikey this week. And let us know if you were part of the UFC picks that Jeff made. But for right now, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Guys, have a great few days. I'm sure we'll talk over the next day or two. And enjoy.
All right.
And there we go.